Namaste to one and all present here. I first take this opportunity to thank the management, our team leader, Ms. Maliga ma'am, our friend, Mrs. Anu, and the principal, PVM Karu, teacher friends, parents, and my dear children. Today, we are here to discuss on certain aspects in this subject mathematics that would help you to crack your board exams very effectively and successfully. At the outset, before I start, a kind request from my side is, children, please feel relaxed, sit back, make a note of all the information that I would like to discuss with you and absolutely make use of it to crack your exams. Request you all once again to have a note and a pen to list out the main features that need to be followed to avoid the mistakes. I believe everybody is here with a notebook and a pen. As you all are aware, this subject is something which doesn't require only mere listening. It requires a lot of working out. So hopefully, let me start the session with the hope that everybody is in a position to make note of all that I convey, because every aspect that you are going to take up in this session is definitely going to help you in going ahead with this subject in your forthcoming exams in the month of March. As you all are aware, this is supposed to be the last exam. Don't give up, children. Never think that you can do everything in the last moment. I know by the time you come towards the end of the examination sessions, you will become so tired, and it would be better that you prepare yourself well ahead to see to it that you only turn your pages to look into the topics and go ahead with the exams successfully. With this, I start sharing the screen. Is the screen visible? Is
Yes,
the screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you, children. So I hope all of you have a paper and a pen with you to make note of all that is needed. Kindly go ahead, making note of anything and everything that you come across. And in case you have any doubt, I am giving you a session where you can always clarify your things, and I'm here only for that purpose, right? So I request all of you to mute your audio, and if it is possible, would request you to come in video also, because face to face would give a better understanding. So if possible, children, try to come in video so that anything that we come across, as a doubt can be discussed by us, by both of us. In participation is more important, because the session is after all meant only for you, and it's not going to be mere interaction from one side alone. So kindly, children, I request all of you to participate in this and see to it that you are getting benefited out of it. We go ahead. Now, before I start the session, a small introduction about the subject. Now, this is one subject which is a key inspiration for many reasons below. It improves the power of reasoning and gives way to critical thinking and brings in a lot of problem solving capabilities. And this final exam is meant for 80 marks theory, and that is what you are going to take up at the examination center. And of course, this 20 marks internals is being taken care by your class, by your maths teachers. Now, the pattern of the paper, as you all are aware, I'm just brushing in, the paper would have questions meant for 80 marks. Section A would have 20 questions of 1 mark each, and those are supposed to be MCQs. It's just not, ticking. It's involving a lot of working out from your side, which all of us would surely agree. And it's not just looking into and ticking, making a tick. You need to work out by the side to bring in the answers. Even a positive and a negative sign would make a huge difference. So I request all of you to see to it that you are in a position to work out the answers before you put a tick on the right choice. Okay. So section B would consist of 5 questions of 2 marks each. Again, it would involve substitution of formulas and then calculations. And there are 2 questions of internal choice, which you may have to choose during the reading time. And do not waste your time choosing the choices which may not suit you. So be very careful in choosing the choice. Section C would contain 6 questions of 3 marks each with internal choice for 2 questions. And section D will have 4 questions of 5 marks each. And 5-mark questions would have things which are going in depth. And again, you may have 2 internal choices, which you may have to take care in working out. Finally, in section E, you will have 3 questions of 4 marks each. And it is supposed to be a case-based question, which means you would be given a case and you may have to look into the content on that and answer the questions below. So read the case, analyze it, find out what is that expected of you in that. For a minute, think about what is that you need to do and then answer. It would contain 3 subdivisions. Again, 3 subdivisions would be of 1 mark each for 2 subdivisions and 1 2-mark question which would again have an internal choice. I hope you would have gone through all these things and you would have got used to doing all these papers also, right? So take care to see to it that you choose the choice questions much before you start it. Fine. Now I will directly plunge into the topics. Let me go into the topics. First chapter would involve real numbers. I have only given you the crisp explanation of what is needed in all those chapters. Now, in real numbers, you may have to concentrate on primes and composites. And then you have what is called splitting into rationals and irrationals. You know what is a rational, you know what is an irrational. How do you differentiate a rational and an irrational has to be taken care. So please be aware of what you need to follow when you come across questions on rationals and irrationals. Rationals will be of the form P by Q, where P and Q are integers and Q will never be equal to 0. And they are always terminating or non-terminating, repeating decimals. Whereas irrationals are not rationals and they would be non-terminating, non-repeating decimals. I hope all of you are aware of all these things. Be aware of all these things as you need to know what is that would differentiate a rational and an irrational. Next, we would come across questions on HCF and LCM in this topic. Now, before I conclude, about this particular topic, I believe all of you are able to understand what is the difference between HCF and LCM. I come to understand that some of you make errors in finding out if the question involves LCM or HCF. And what is that you need to understand? Always HCF would be a number which is lesser than the given number, and LCM would be a number which is more than the given numbers. And always HCF is a factor of LCM. An incorrect identification of HCF and LCM would be the possible error that you commit in this chapter. And so please take care of to find out if the given question involves LCM or HCF. So HCF is only listing the common factors, and LCM would be listing the common factors followed by uncommon factors. That is what is most important. List out all the common factors and then follow the uncommon factors, and that is what is supposed to be the LCM. So I believe I have made it clear as to how to differentiate an LCF and an LCM. In case you feel you are not still convinced, towards the end of the session, we can go through this once again to see if you have if you need any clarity in this topic. Right, children? Any clarifications you need from my side? I'm giving you a minute time. You can ask for this. Or shall I proceed? Shall I proceed, or you need any clarifications from my side on this topic, LCM and LCF? The session is meant for you, and you need to communicate and discuss what is that you need. Only then I will be in a position to understand and prove and clarify your doubts. You can ask me. If you're not going to put your questions, I'll go ahead. Maybe towards the end of the session, you can unmute and you can clarify your doubts. So shall I go ahead? Shall I go ahead, children?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you. So the next topic is linear equations. I believe, children, you are making a note of it. So linear equations involves solving linear equations by 2 methods, which is called substitution and elimination and substitution. There's a third method in the textbook which is not required, right? So it's enough if you do by either of the two methods. And then it would have graphs. And always remember, linear equation graphs are always straight line graphs. There is nothing like you may have anything else other than the straight line graphs. So it is only going to involve straight line graphs, wherein you may have to plot the points and join the points to see that you get a straight line. And there is one more concept involved in linear equations, and that is the nature of solution. So when you talk of the nature of solutions, believe it or not, you may be in a position to understand only relating it to coefficients. So if A1 by A2 and B1 by B2 and C1 by C2 has got some relation among themselves, that would enable us to identify if the given set of equation is going to have a unique solution, or it would have infinitely many solutions, or if it have no solution at all. And you all are aware of all that, and that is what has been listed by me over there in the screen. And anything to be clarified on this aspect, I know all of you would have been made it very clear. I mean, you would be in a position to understand how to classify things and get things done. If any unknown is asked over here, they may ask you to find out some unknown K. In case you come across such questions, please identify the nature of the root and use that tip that is given over here on the screen and make use of that tip to determine the unknown. So the possible errors that you would commit in all this is, you may misunderstand the signs before it. Some of your coefficients would involve a negative sign. If you overcome that negative sign and take it positive, absolutely, it would give a negative result and you will be misled. So be careful when you choose the coefficients. Please be very clear in choosing the signs before. That is whether it is going to be a positive sign or a negative sign. That part has to be taken care of in this. And coming to word problems, you have 4 steps that need to be taken care of. First, you should assume what is x or y, and then frame the equation based on the information given in the question. Then you try to solve the equation by any one of the two methods. It's your choice. Nobody is going to insist on the method. And then finally, when you come across the values of x and y, try to list out the conclusion part, saying that this is this and that is that. That part has to be taken care. Don't avoid going away from all these 4 steps: assumption, formation, solutions by solving any method of your choice, and finally giving conclusion. And when you conclude, you please understand you may have to write the unit. If you misunderstand and if you don't give the unit, then you may miss half mark, and that is where we miss centums. And so please take care to see that you don't miss even half mark in the paper. Our aim is to score centum, and that would be possible only if you take care of making these errors. And please make a note of it. And that is what is expected of you as far as this topic linear equations is concerned. I'll go ahead with the next topic, polynomials. Now, as far as polynomials is concerned, again, a polynomial is an algebraic expression, and we are going to involve ourselves only to quadratic polynomials. We don't have cubic polynomials. So when you look into the quadratic polynomials, you can find out if the given polynomial is quadratic or not, if the degree of the polynomial is going to be 2. Again, if you want to relate the coefficients with the zeros, again, it is possible. Coefficients are going to give us the way the solution is going to be. So relation with coefficients would involve in finding out the zeros of the polynomial. So some of the zeros, as you all are aware, is minus b by a, where a, b, c are the coefficients of x squared, x, and the constant respectively. And so there are 2 things. First thing is relationship of the coefficients with the zeros. And the second thing is framing a polynomial given the zeros. So you are aware, if alpha and beta are the zeros, then the polynomial will be, a quadratic polynomial would be x squared minus the sum of the zeros into x plus the product of zeros. I needn't have to go into the depth of this because I'm very sure all of you must have got used to these type of questions. Now coming to quadratic equations. Now, as soon as the quadratic polynomial is done, I'm describing the quadratic equation because the difference between a polynomial and an equation is a polynomial is an expression, whereas an equation is an equation. So when you come across equations, you may have to find out the roots of the equation. As you all are aware that there are only 2 roots for the quadratic equations. There are 2 methods of solving quadratic equations, and that is what is being listed over here on the screen. The first method is called the factorization method, and the second method is the formula method. So you may go in to find out any method of your choice. if in case a particular method is not mentioned in the question paper. Okay. And coming to the nature of roots, again, it depends on the discriminant, which is b squared minus 4ac, and the conditions given below is clear in your textbooks. You may have to go through that and see to it that you are in a position to obtain the nature of the roots. One common error that you would commit in all these questions is, I've given you an example over there. If the quadratic equation px squared minus 2 root 5px plus 15 has equal roots. Obviously, you know equal roots means b squared minus 4ac is equal to 0. So if you are asked to find out that unknown p, the variable, apart from the variable, there is an unknown coefficient, which is p. And if they are telling you to find out what is the value of that unknown term p, what do? We immediately, because it is given that those are equal roots, we do b squared minus 4ac equal to 0. And once you do it, you come across 20p squared minus 60p is equal to 0, which would say p is equal to 3 and p is equal to 0. Because again, the degree is 2, you might come across 2 roots, as you all are aware. But then, can we include p is equal to 0? Can we include p is equal to 0? I need participation from your side, children. Can we have p equal to 0? One of you please unmute and tell me. Can p be equal to 0? Participation, children, from your side. Can p be equal to 0 in this case? One of you can tell me. Anyone can unmute and tell me. Nikita, can you? Any one of you, can p be equal to 0? Why am I not getting a response, children? What's the problem? Are you not able to unmute and speak to me? Would like you to participate. Any one of you. We may have to reject p. Can you tell me what is the reason for rejecting p in this case? One of you, please. Dharti ma'am, please advise your children to come to interact in the class, ma'am. Please advise them to interact in the class, ma'am.
So we can call by name.
Yeah, sir, I've called. Nikita, can you please tell me? Or anybody else?
Nikita, whatever you know.
Sir, please unmute and speak, children. Would like you to participate, ma'am.
Equal to 0 in this case, there would be no x term here, ma'am.
There would be no
X term here.
No, it is, you are partially right. If p is equal to 0, it would lose its quadratic nature because the coefficient of x squared is p. So in case p is made 0, then there would be no x squared at all, and it will lose its quadratic nature. That is the reason behind saying that we may have to reject p is equal to 0. All right, children. I hope I have made it clear. If p is equal to 0, there is no possibility for us to maintain the quadratic nature, and therefore we may have to go ahead with rejecting p is equal to 0. And therefore p has to be only 3. So rejection is needed in certain places if in case you happen to have such questions, and if you don't reject and say p is equal to 3 and p is equal to 0, then again you may tend to lose half mark, and there again you have to take care of all these aspects. I hope I have made it clear. Now coming to word problems, let me make it this way. Now if you come across word problems, some important tips I've given you to approach word problems. Please make a note of it, children. If there are 3 consecutive numbers, involved in the question, and if I've got to frame an equation, then the numbers has got to be written as x minus 1, x, and x plus 1. So that way it would be easy for us because x minus 1 into x plus 1 will make it as a plus b into a minus b, which is x squared minus 1. And that would make our work very, very easy. And when you add it up, minus 1 plus 1, all that gets cancelled, and it would help us to frame the equation very successfully. And same way to do with, if there are 3 consecutive odd integers, then you may have to take it as 2x plus 1, 2x plus 3, and 2x plus 5. These are some simple tips that I'm giving you to avoid making things complicated. Please go ahead with all those things. And if there are 3 consecutive even numbers, then you may have to take it as 2x minus 2. Middle number will be 2x, and the third term will be 2x plus 2. And if you come across questions which involves the 2-digit numbers, any 2-digit number can be written as 10x plus y, where x is supposed to be the tens place and y is supposed to be the units place. So obviously when the digits gets reversed, the new number becomes 10y plus x, right? So you please understand, you may have to identify which is the units place and which is the tens place. X is supposed to be the tens place, y is supposed to be the units place. If you mention that only, you will understand when you come across a 2-digit number. So take care to see to it that you are in a position to make assumption. As I told you, every word problem would involve first assumption, second formation of the equation, third step is to solve that equation, and finally you may have to come to some conclusion, right? And when you come across questions which involves upstream and downstream, please understand it's very easy for a person people who know swimming and who do go with me to say that plunging into water is much more easier than coming out of it towards the current and away from the current. If you want to plunge into the water, it's very easy to go fast, but you want to come out, it's the process is very slow. So downstream would always be speed of the stream plus the speed of the boat, and upstream would be speed of the stream minus the speed of the boat. Don't interchange, children. You interchange, there again you will have a lot of confusions and you will be ending up in a mess where you will have to spend a lot of time. And when you focus and do this perfectly, there is no possibility of error at all. So please read the question properly. Find out if the speed of the stream is given or the speed of the boat is given, and accordingly go ahead framing the equations. Your concentration should be only on the paper with the question to read and understand. Please list out what all are given in the question and then go ahead with framing the equation. Next is slowly go ahead with solving the equation and finally come with conclusion. I request you all to make note of all this simple tips that I'm giving you to see that, and the possible error that you commit, as you can see in the screen, is unit conversion. Sometimes one unit, the speed might be in kilometer per hour and the time might be in minutes. So there again, you must understand that the conversion of unit has to be taken care. And if that is not done, again, you will be making things complicated, and try to avoid making things complicated and getting tensed in the examination hall. Your full concentration should be on the paper and no looking back here and there to see if somebody is doing something else. And see to it that you are in a position to understand the question before you start making attempt of word problems. Fine. Next, I will go ahead with a very interesting topic, which is arithmetic progression. The only common mistake that you do in this question is you fail to understand if what is asked in the question is an AN or an SN. That's why I've given it those red boxes that I have highlighted over there is all the possible errors that you commit when you come across questions of this type. So I have said, is any AP question an AN problem or an SN problem? That is what is the first identification that you've got to make. And whenever you are given a question on AP, tip one that I would suggest would be list what is A, what is D, what is N before you start the solution. So before you start doing any sum, quickly write what is A, what is D, what is N. The moment you write this, you will be in a position to understand what is asked. Supposing N is asked, please keep in mind, N can never be 0, N can never be negative. Rest all can be 0, rest all can be negative. But understand, remember, N is always greater than 0. It can never be less than 0. It can never be 0. Okay, that is why I have written N is always greater than 0. And for a SN problem, if there is a quadratic equation, we will be coming across two values, and rejection is very, very important. AN will have only one value of N, but SN will have two values of N. And please understand, you may have to be very careful in making note of the rejection that is expected of in any question. So when you come across problems in AP, please find out if what is asked is an AN or an SN, and then proceed with doing sums in AP. And AP is such an interesting topic, which may not be, very difficult if you really understand what is given in the question and what is that you need to answer in that particular question. So take care, children. And you may have case-based question also in AP, which will involve three subdivisions. And sometimes, you may be taking negative values as positive and vice versa. Please take care and use the apt formula which is needed. SN has got two formulas. Supposing the first term and last term is given, you use the second formula n by 2 into a plus an. If only the values of n and a and d are given, use the first formula. So formula has also got to be selected apt to what is given in the question. So think of the question once, twice before you start doing sums in AP, right? And you are going to find it very simple if you really follow the method that you need to. Now coming to the next topic, which is coordinate geometry. Again, I know all would love doing sums in this topic. It involves only two concepts. One is the distance formula, and another one is a section formula. As far as distance formula is concerned, all of you are aware it's going to give you the distance between any 2 points. And it would also help us in finding out the length of the sides of any quadrilateral or a triangle or whatever be it. So what we will do, in case it is going to be asked that you need to find out if the given thing is a parallelogram, okay, in specific, you need to only concentrate on the diagonals. So if you're going to find out the midpoints of the diagonals, and if it is going to remain the same, you're going to say it's a parallelogram. I'm sure you must have been guided this way. If not, please try to follow this method. So if it is going to be parallelogram, you will observe the midpoints of the diagonals will be the same. So if they give you three vertices and ask you for the fourth vertex, please go ahead with this. Find out the midpoint of the diagonal AC, find the midpoint of the diagonal DB, and equate it. That would give you the unknown values X and Y for the fourth vertex. Coming to the next part, a parallelogram with diagonals equal is a rectangle. What do you mean by that? Find out once you understand that it's a parallelogram, it can either be a rectangle or it can be a square or it can even be a rhombus. How do you differentiate? If it is going to be a rectangle, it would only have the length of the diagonals to be equal. If it is going to be a square, it would be a rectangle with adjacent sides equal. Okay. So when I want to find out the length of the adjacent sides, I am going ahead with the distance formula. If I want to find out the midpoint, I would go ahead with the midpoint formula. And if I want to find out if it is going to be a rhombus, again, I will observe that it's a parallelogram wherein the midpoints of diagonals will coincide, but diagonals will not be in equal length. So for a square and a rectangle, the diagonals will be equal, but for a rhombus, the diagonals will not be equal. So these are the main things that you need to keep in your mind to differentiate a rectangle, a square, and a rhombus. Coming to the next part, which is supposed to be a section formula. Section formula involves two things, midpoint formula and centroid. Now, what do you mean by the term section? Section means dividing it into different sections. So what do you mean by dividing into different sections? There need to be a ratio. In case you are given the value of the point which is lying in between 2 points, they may ask you to find out the ratio. Sometimes they will ask you to determine the coordinates of the point of division given the ratio. And there are possibilities of questions which involves trisection and 4 equal parts. Here again in trisection, you may have to use the ratio as 1:2 to determine the first point and 2:1 to determine the second point. If it is going to involve 4 equal parts, you may have to determine the midpoint of first extremes, and then the initial point and the midpoint would be the initial point, and the midpoint and the final midpoints would involve the third point. So everywhere we are going to use midpoint formula if you come across questions which involves 4 equal parts. And centroid is a different concept wherein it is going to say about the point of intersections of the medians. You know what is a median? So point of intersections of all the 3 medians would be the centroid. And if the coordinates are given, you may have to find out the coordinates of centroid and vice versa. And the possible errors as I have highlighted in red color would be you commit mistakes in writing the coordinates. Coordinates has got to be mentioned within the parenthesis, split with a comma. Don't ever try to give up this, because I am only trying to fine-tune the mistakes that you commit and see to it that it doesn't occur in your papers. So please make note of that. The possible error that you commit in this type of questions is you may not be aware of whether you have got to use distance formula or section formula if you're not going at the question properly. And after you find out, you may have to list the coordinates properly within the parenthesis, split with a comma. So please take care of all these things and see that you don't commit mistakes. It's a wonderful topic which may not make you lose marks, and you can easily gain marks if you do sums and this more clearly. Coming to the trigonometry part, most interesting part of mathematics is trigonometry, wherein you learn the basics in class 10 and extend it indefinitely as and when you proceed with in higher classes. So what is the basic thing in trigonometry? The basic thing in trigonometry is it involves all the three sides of a triangle, right angle triangle. Now, the most common error that is expected of in this, which I've highlighted in red color, is while dealing with Pythagorean triplets, some of you are under the impression that when you see 4 and 5, automatically the third side would be of 3 units or multiples of 3. I believe this is going to be possible only if 5 is considered to be the hypotenuse. Supposing you are given sine theta is equal to 3 by 4. You all are aware that their two sides are 3 and 4. That doesn't mean the third side has to be 5, because you know sine is opposite by hypotenuse. When hypotenuse is 4, how can the third side be 5? You commit errors in this. Side of 3 and 4 should not make you decide that the third side should be 5. So when will it be 5? Only if that is going to be the longest side. So while dealing with Pythagorean triplets, say for example, 3, 4 and 5, to the sides of the right triangle, always make sure that the longest side is the hypotenuse. Suppose the longest side is 4, you will be coming across the third side as 4 squared minus 3 squared. And 4 squared minus 3 squared is 16 minus 9, which is going to be root 7. It cannot be 5. So please take care of that. And I'm giving you one example. This is what is going to be followed up when you come across several other examples. Finally, coming to the identity part. And you all know the values. Values has got a table, and the table has to be taken care of. You should remember, don't interchange the values. And you will be restricting yourself only to 0, 30, 45, 60, and 90. There's nothing else more than this. It's all going to involve 0, 30, 45, 60, and 90. There's nothing else other than that. And you may have to be taking care of only these 5 angles, I believe, all these days. Now, there are 3 identities. Now, where you are capable of committing mistakes, I would like to quote in over here. Now, sometimes they might say cosecant squared is 1 plus cot squared. If you have the basic thing, this basic identity in your mind, you should understand that when you are transferring cot squared to the left-hand side, cosecant squared minus cot squared will be 1, whereas cot squared minus cosecant squared will be minus 1. So when you transform one identities from one part towards the left-hand side, or from the right towards the left, or from the left towards the right, please keep these basic identities in your mind and go ahead with transformations. So transformation of identities to be done, keeping in mind these basic things, and that would enable you to proceed with in a very, very effective manner. And application of this trigonometry is heights and distance. Now in this, what is more important is drawing the picture. When you draw the picture, make the specifics. Is this a ladder or a tree, a building, a tower? If you mention that, you will never go wrong, because if the height of the tower is asked, you may go ahead with finding out the height of the building. But if you mention that that is the tower and that is the building, there is no possibility for you to commit error. So figure is more important. No figure 0 mark, wrong figure also 0 mark. So make the specifics, mark the angles correctly. Do not misunderstand 30, 45 to be the other way. When it approaches 90, angles keep on increasing. When it approaches, the acute angle, it keeps on decreasing. That part I've given it in the form of a picture. Identify the ratio, whether it is sine or cos or tan. Take care of the unit. One might be in centimeter, other might be in meter. So you have to take care of the unit. And if there are multiple angles involved, choose the triangle which has 45 degrees to solve first, because you all are aware that tan 45 is 1, and that would give the answer very easily. Always answer the questions and full statements at the end as conclusion with right units. Please see to it that you give the answers in decimals. Do not leave it as root 3 when root 3 value is given in the question. Suppose root 3 is given as 1.73, use only 1.73. Don't go ahead using 1.732. And the possible errors that you commit are mentioning the angles correctly is more important. You cannot interchange the angles. and see if the question asks is elevation or depression. If it is going to be depression, you may have to draw the line of sight at the top and then mark those angles and then come ahead doing the sums. So angle of elevation, angle of depression has to be taken care of. And identification, whether it is elevation or depression, is very, very important as far as this questions and heights and distances are involved. Now, coming to the next topic, similar triangles. This again is going to have only one theorem, and that is BPT, which involves its proof. Now, BPT and its proof is very important. Application of BPT, as you all are aware, congruence is not the same as similarity. All congruent pictures, triangles are similar, but it is not always true that the other way around. Not always, I said, sometimes it's true. Not always true the other way around. So please keep this in mind. You know what is the difference between a similarity and a congruence? Can anyone tell me what is the difference between similarity and congruence? Hari? Can Hari tell me what is the difference between similarity and congruence? Or Tita Ritin? Anybody for that matter? I need from your side, what is the difference between a similarity and a congruence in triangle? Quick, children. We may have to do one or two more topics again. Can anyone come forward to tell me the difference between similarity of two triangles and congruence of two triangles? I know you are aware of it. Don't be hesitant. Even if you are wrong, I'm there to help you out. Please tell me, come forward. Quick. Quick, children. Tita Ritan, Hari, anybody for that matter? Any participant is most welcome to tell me. Quick, children. Yes? Shall I give you a hint? What can you tell about a passport size photo and a stamp size photo? Are they similar or are they congruent?
Ma'am, they are similar.
Yes, then why don't you try?
Yes, they are similar. Why are they similar, dear? Why are they similar? Please tell me. You are right. Perfectly right. Why are they similar? Akshita?
Ma'am, actually, ma'am, the shape or the size of the photo is not same, ma'am, but they are square.
What do you mean by that? The angles are equal and the sides are proportional, right?
Yes, ma'am.
The angles are equal and the sides are proportional. Whereas congruence, what is when do you say two pictures are congruent? Quick, ma, one of you. You are perfectly right, children. Yes, please.
The shape and sizes, everything is equal, ma'am.
Perfect. Very good. Excellent, Lakshita. So it's something like if you are allowed to have two pictures to coincide one on the other, when they merge in exactly, it is supposed to be congruent. Okay. You take any two passport size photos. If they are going to merge in exactly, suppose you have a green cardboard and a red cardboard of same size. Now you look at from the green side, the red side will not be visible. You look at from the red side, the green side will not be visible, which means you will say that those two pictures are congruent. Whereas if the angles are equal and if the sides are proportional, you will say they are similar. Perfectly rightly said, Lakshita. So you may have to differentiate a similarity and a congruence. Very, very important. So differentiating similarity and congruence, and you know the symbol for that. And you have to be very alert in naming the triangles. Orientation wise means, suppose if it is ABC is similar to PQR, it need not be always PQR. Sometimes it can be RPQ, it can be PRQ. So depending on the sides, you will be saying if the two pictures are similar. If so, you have to name it, taking into mind the orientation. That orientation part has to be taken care of when you name the triangles. So be very careful and see that you are in a position to put what is called CPST once you come across the triangles to be similar only. Otherwise, nobody will mention that it is true by CPST. CPST is possible only if the triangles are similar. Right. And the next topic is circle. So there are only 2 chapters in geometry, not as many as we had in class 9. Just 2 chapters. Please concentrate on all the textual questions and worked examples. Numericals may be from outside, but riders would most probably be relevant to what is there as concepts in the textbook. So remember in circles, there are only 2 theorems. So please go ahead with the proofs of both the theorems and recollect the concepts that you've learned in lower classes like linear pair, vertically opposite angles, parallel line concepts and all this, and utilize all those concepts and doing numerical sums. And practice proving problems from the textbooks with the worked examples. Most likely every question paper has lot of worked examples. So please concentrate on all the worked examples and the textual riders and go ahead with doing sums based on the textual questions from many sample papers. Remember, whenever you come across questions in circles, you may have to draw and label the figures compulsorily. Nobody will keep it in your mind and put and write it as A, B, C, P, Q, R in the textbook, in the paper, without mentioning what is A, what is B, what is C, and so on. So remember, you have to draw and label the figures compulsorily when you come across questions in circles. And then next topic is mensuration, that is areas related to circles. You have some certain formulas. You all are aware of all those formulas. Please be thorough with the formulas, because if you do not know the formulas, it is impossible for us to make an attempt of any question in all these topics, surface areas, volumes, and areas related to circles. So be very specific in noting what is the difference between a sector and a segment. You commit mistakes. A segment is different from sector. You can see it in the picture. A sector is going to be a region which is in between the arc and the two radii, whereas a segment is a region which is going to be in between a chord and an arc, right? So differentiate that and be very, very careful. A sector would involve angles, a segment would never involve angles. So possible errors that you commit is you are failing to differentiate a sector from a segment. So I want you to understand that what is asked in the question has to be taken care of, whether it is going to be a sector, if it is going to be a quadrant, if it is going to be having an angle of 60 degrees or 120 degrees, whether it is going to be a major sector that is asked or a minor sector, major segment or a minor segment. Please go ahead reading the question carefully and apply correct formula. See if what is asked is perimeter or area. Sometimes they would say perimeter. Perimeter is nothing but the length of the border. I believe you are able to understand. Perimeter is the sum of the length of the border of the picture, whereas area is the region inside that border. So identify if the question is going to be involving perimeter or area, and go ahead after reading the question and beware of unit conversion again, as I've been telling you. And please pay attention to numerical calculations. Don't commit mistakes in making numerical calculations. Somebody writes 2 into 3 as 5. It's only because you are stressed out, and it's not that you do not know. So don't get stressed out. Please be very casual. Please be very free and keep your mind open to concentrate only on the paper and not anything else for that 3 hours, 15 minutes time, right? Now, coming to the next topic in mensuration is surface areas and volumes. There are only 2 things involved in this. Of course, the rest part of the chapter is deleted for you. So you are fortunately going to have only 2 things. If it is going to involve total surface area for a combination of solids, always remember all that region which is visible to our eye will be the sum of the areas. So what is that? It will be the sum of the individual surface areas of all the parts minus the sum of the merged surface area. Now look at this one question where I have given you the picture. There is a cylinder. Below the cylinder, there is a semicircle, hemisphere, and above the cylinder, there is a cone. So what is the total surface area means? We are going to say it is going to be, can anyone tell what is the total surface area of that picture which is there on the screen? Quickly, one of you. What is the total surface area of the picture that is there on the screen? One of you, ma. Please, children, quickly. Haricharan. Haricharan can tell me. Quick. Can you tell me what is the total surface area of that picture which is there on the screen, which involves a cylinder, a hemisphere, and a cone? Quick, ma. I need a feedback from your side. Please speak out. I know all of you, most of you are aware of it. Come on. Even if you're wrong, it's fine. I'm there to correct you. Only by committing mistakes, you can rectify your mistakes. Quick, children. Somebody? Anybody for that matter? What is the total surface area of that picture, which is there over there in the screen?
Csa of
Very good, ma'am.
cylinder plus Csa of cone plus Csa of hemisphere, ma'am.
Wonderful, fantastic, superb. Can you tell me the formulas for CSA of cylinder? Soumya?
Ma'am, 2 pi r h, ma'am.
H. Very good, very good. What about cone?
Ma'am, 2 pi r square, ma'am.
Pi RL. Pi RL.
Cone.
What about hemisphere?
2 pi r square, ma'am.
Very good. So what you can do? 2 pi RH plus pi RL plus 2 pi R squared. What are we going to do with the base of the cylinder and the hemisphere? We will not consider because it's merged. What are we going to do with the base area of the cone and the top of the base of the cone and the top of the cylinder? We are going to avoid. So it's going to involve CSA plus CSA plus CSA of all the three solids, which is nothing but sum of the individual surface areas, adding all the TSAs minus sum of all the merged areas, right? So you have to be very careful in saying that all the three radii are the same, but the heights are different. Use different heights, which is given in the question, but radii will be the same because it's merging. So R will be same. H for the cylinder is H1. H of the cone will be H2. So write it as H1, H2 and identify and find out. Same way, when you come across to questions on total volume, some of the individual volumes of all parts has to be found out, and that would give you the volume of it. So again, in this, remember that you have to take care of the units. Take care of units very carefully and don't commit mistakes. Statistics is the 13th chapter, which is very interesting. I know all of you are going to find it very simple. There are only three measures. One is mean, which is the average. There are three methods involved. You can do by any one of the three methods if the method is not mentioned. But take care of reading the formulas. So remember, if it is going to involve mean, it is average. If it is going to involve median, it is going to be the middlemost term, which will be involving cumulative frequency. Site of median should have your cumulative frequency in your mind. Same way, when you are asked to do questions on mode, please understand you are going for the maximum frequency. So is the question given a mean or a median or mode? First you look at it and write the formula immediately, correct it. And always see to it that the distribution is continuous. If it is discontinuous, kindly make it continuous and then proceed calculations. And last but not the least, if the given distribution is going to be a greater than or a lesser than format, please make it continuous as a continuous distribution by finding out the frequency and then proceeding with doing the sums. And that is what is called an empirical relation. Empirical relation will be mode is equal to 3 median minus 2 mean. So if all the three are asked, you may find out any two of your choice. And then the third one can be determined using the empirical relation. So remember, again, you have to take care of the units whenever you are asked questions on mean, median, and mean. Finally, this is the last chapter, which is going to be the probability. And again, I'm telling you, if in case you're going for higher classes, mathematics is one of the subjects. This is the basic thing. Of course, you have learned in class 9, those were empirical from experimental probabilities, and these are going to involve probabilities. Basically, what is needed is analyze the sample space. You all are aware of what is a sample space. Sample space is nothing but listing out all the possible outcomes, from which you will choose the favorable outcomes depending on what is asked in the question. So analyze the sample space. For example, if the cards are numbered to from 10 to 109, many go wrong saying that there are 99 cards. Please understand that there are 100 counts when it starts from 10 to 109. Simple error. I know logically you make mistake. If there are cards ranging from 10 to 109, you must understand that there are 100 counts. You commit mistakes and all those things, so please take care. Same way, if you come across questions on playing cards. What do you mean by playing cards? The playing cards is exclusive of the joker. It has only 52 cards. Out of those 52 cards, you have what are some cards which are going to be having some pictures. Those pictures cards are 16 in number, out of which only 12 cards are supposed to be face cards. Ace is not a face card because Ace doesn't have a face. Of course, it has a design. That's why it's included in picture card. but it is not included in face card because face cards would involve a jack would have his face on it, a king would have his face on it, a queen would have her face on it. That is why they are called face cards. So face cards are 12 in number, and ace is not a face card. And answers must be reduced always to the simplest form. It need not be converted into decimals. It's okay if it is going to be a fraction. So answers must be reduced to the simplest form. Supposing if it is 20 by 50, please write it as 2 by 5. Do not leave it as 20 by 15. You will lose marks. So take care to see to it that it is reduced to its simplest form. So that's it, children. I think I've covered all the topics. Now I'm coming to give you some general tips. What to do during your exam. I mean on the table in the exam hall. Utilize the reading time effectively. What do I mean by that? Select the questions that you know for sure among the choices. Supposing in a 2-mark question out of 5 questions, you are very confident of only 3 questions. Please answer those 3 questions first and keep the remaining 2 questions pending to be done at the end. Don't get stuck with that question which you are not very familiar with in the very beginning. Manage your time very well. That's what I meant by it. See that if you are in a position to know, to be very confident of only 3 questions in section B, please attempt those 3 questions first. Go ahead with doing the rest of the questions later, but don't miss it. Right? Instructions to be followed strictly. What do I mean by that? Suppose pi value is given as 22 by 7. Go ahead with 22 by 7. If it is given 3.14, go ahead with 3.14. Don't interchange. So instructions to be followed strictly. Suppose they say find the mean only by step deviation method. You are not going to, your answer is not going to be accepted if you do by the other 2 methods. If no instruction is given, it's your choice to choose the method. Do not leave any question in the paper. Even if you feel that you do not know to proceed, just to write something relevant to that question in your answer paper. Don't ever try to leave any question. Use the rough sheets provided for calculation. Do not scribble in between the answers and make a mess. Please understand the examiner will have to be very happy when they correct your papers. In case they find your paper to be, shabby, if they find your paper to be, haphazard, they may not like your paper. That mentality, that disturbance in their mind would make them reduce your mark unnecessarily. Please don't give way to it. Draw a rough column and do all the rough work in the rough column provided. Use rough sheets provided for calculation. Highlight important parts of the answers using pencil. Do not use a red pen or a black pen. Use your pencil and slightly give a highlight. Check the answer. What do I mean by telling you to check the answer? It doesn't mean just looking at the number which you have written in the answer paper. Keep the question paper by the side. Read that question. Supposing if the length, breadth, and height are going to be 20 into 10 into 15, please see the question paper if it's 20 into 10 into 15, and then look at the answer paper if you have transferred the numbers correctly as 20 into 10 into 15, and then check the calculation. Without looking into the question paper, you keep checking only the answers in the answer paper, you will not be doing justice to your checking. I hope I am clear to you. Keep the question paper by the side of you. Look into the numbers that is there in the question paper and see if you have transferred it correctly into your answer paper. Then do the checking. And when you do checking, it means even the addition, subtraction, multiplication, division has to be checked. It is just not enough if you check looking into the whether you have done addition or subtraction or multiplication. It is very essential that you have to check if you have done that addition subtraction also correctly in your rough column. So that much has to be taken care of whenever you are in the exam hall. Now, before you go to the exam, how to prepare? Now, there are certain things that you have to keep in your mind. The greatest hurdle in learning mathematics is lack of practice. What do I mean by this? Some of you have the tendency to have the textbook and the notebook in hand and read the answers and say, I know, and proceed. That's definitely not going to help you out. Please understand, you have to practice doing maths. Place all the important concepts, formulas that you have in your entire syllabus in a very big chart paper. Put it in front of you in your study room, on your wall, or in front of your place where you sit and study. Always have eye contact with those formulas and identities so that it would just get mapped in your mind. That's what is called mind mapping. You must be able to come across that formula very often. Even when you read your social science, if that is going to be entering into your eyesight, it would fetch results in your mind very clearly. So list all the formulas, identities in a very big chart paper and put it in front of your study table so that every time when you come across those, it will be registered in your mind. And moreover, you should practice at least 10 to 12 problems every day on the normal days and before the exams from different key. This will help. This will help you to develop the understanding, as well as speed and accuracy will be taken care of when you want to solve some problems. Discussion among peers would enable you to clarify a lot of doubts that you come across. If you're not able to meet your teachers many number of times, have a very thorough discussion with your friends, and that would enable you to clarify most of your doubts. Of course, we are there to take care. In case you're not able to be in a position to meet us, you can always clarify by having a very, good discussion among your peers. Regular working will also improve your confidence level and develop interest in the subject. Work sample papers at the stage. If you're thorough with what is there in your textbook, absolutely you must be in a position to start working out a lot of sample papers. Go ahead working at sample papers, keeping time factor in mind. And I know by now your teachers must have conducted a lot of revision exams, corrected your papers, and they would have handed over to you. In case you have committed errors, and in case you have got some choice questions, please do make attempt of working out the errors, doing follow-ups, and work out the answers for the choice questions. That would improve a confidence level in your mind. This is all that I wanted to tell you. And finally, how to manage time. I'm telling you, children, you can make note of it. I have my own way of, approaching how to manage time. I'm giving it. Please make a note of it. It would be better that, you are given 3 hours. 3 hours is nothing but 60 into 3, 180 minutes. 180 minutes plus 15 minutes of reading time is given to you, right? Now, how to plan that 15 minutes reading time is meant for choosing the choice and other things. The remaining 180 minutes that is there in you is meant for answering questions for 80 marks. So, spend 2 minutes for each mark. That doesn't mean you will have to keep looking at your watch. I would suggest this way. Please make a note of it, 30 minutes for section A. Don't go more than 30 minutes for section A. Again, spend 25 minutes for section B. 30 minutes for section C. 25 minutes for section D. 30 minutes again for section D and 25 minutes for section E. So section A, section C, and section D, you may have to spend 30 minutes each, which would be 30 into 3, 90 minutes will get over, right? Now, the remaining 2 sections, that is section B, which has 2-mark question, and section E, which has 4-mark questions, case-based, you can spend 25 minutes each, and so that would be 15 minutes in all. So totally, you will be attempting your paper for 140 to 150 minutes, right? Then you have 30 more minutes in your hands, and that 30 minutes has to be effectively used to check your answers. If you're going to plan this way, don't sit and keep looking at your watch always. That's why I'm telling, spend 30 minutes for sections A, C, and D roughly. That doesn't mean that if you finish in 25 minutes, you have to wait for 30 minutes. I know children, you all are aware of that. In case you finish it, please go ahead with the next section. And B and E would be for 25 minutes each. And this way of, your planning would enable you to have some time for checking the answers. And that plays a vital role to see to it that you are in a position to complete your paper well before time and do a lot of checking. Mathematics paper generally would consume a lot of time. You would have got used to it by now, children. And now I wanted at this stage to make it very clear to you, you will be able to manage time only if you are going to plan this way and practice a lot effectively, working out a lot of sample papers, keeping all these criteria in mind. That's all from my side, children. Thank you very much. Namaste and all the very best. Before I conclude, I'm also telling, I will stop sharing my screen. Shall I stop sharing my screen? Do you have any clarification needed? Do you need any clarification? Can I stop sharing my screen and give you some more tips? Yes? Okay, I'll stop sharing the screen. Now I will give you some basic things that you must need. Okay? When you prepare for your exams, go chapter wise. Follow the tips that I have given you. Don't ever try to mislead yourself with confusions. Be very cool. Never get stressed out during the exams. Enjoy working out the paper with full confidence. Don't get excited thinking that you know everything in the very beginning. No too much of overconfidence, children. You need to understand that you need a lot of confidence, but that doesn't mean it should be overconfidence. Overconfidence will mislead you. Be very careful. Never get stressed out. Write what you know, keeping your mind cool, calm, and focused on the subject. See that you are in a position to spend the entire 3 hours, 15 minutes, sacrificing everything that is going around and concentrating only on the paper. I know you will become very tired, but that doesn't matter. The amount of hard work that you have put the entire year is going to be tested in the 3 hours time. And that 3 hours time plays a very vital role. You eat properly, okay? Hydrate yourself, drink a lot of water, keep yourself cool and calm. Don't come without a breakfast. Eat properly. Take up the exams with full confidence. See that you are not going to get tense and successfully come out with full happiness and you must be very, you should come with fulfillment and contentment when you come out of the exam hall with full confidence and full, thinking that you have done the best. With that attitude, you must come out of the exam hall. So selecting of choice questions, utilize the reading time. In case the diagram is given, avoid, and in case you are given the diagram, redraw, see that you don't miss anything, and see that you are in a position to do your best. That's it from my side. Namaste and thank you. If you have anything to ask, I am ready to wait for you to answer you. Now it's your chance, children. Anybody for that matter can come across with your doubts if you have anything.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yes, ma. Yes, Muthulakshmi.
Yes, ma'am. What about the area related to circus shaded region, ma'am? Is it a portion or deleted one?
It is deleted, ma. But you may come across basic things like asking you to find out the perimeters. Perimeter is length of the boundary. So if they ask for perimeter, giving a semicircle or something like that, you may be in a position to do it. Basically, you don't have area of shaded region, but then basic things which are asked may have to be answered. So be thorough with all those basic. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Anything else, children? Most welcome to ask you all your doubts. I'm there only for that. Anybody else? From your side? It is going to be very simple, children. Anything simple might clarify your part because every half mark is important. Every half mark is important. Even if it is going to be a very silly question, it's okay. Don't bother. Please come out. Come forward. Yes? Sharon, you have anything to ask me? I think you can come in video, children. What's the difficulty in coming in video? Let us also look at you all to see if you can. Please come in video. Why are you hesitant? Don't worry. We are not going to ask any question. You are only going to ask me questions. I'm not going to ask you questions. Please come in video.
Sharon, you
Aarti ma'am, you can send it to me. I can always give you the feedback from my side. I know you have my number. You can just put a message. You please send a message. I can clarify in case your children are in need of any clarifications from my side.
இதே மாதிரி இன்னும் ஒவ்வொரு வருஷமும் பண்ணாங்கன்னா இன்னும் பசங்களோட டேலண்ட்டும் ரொம்ப இம்ப்ரூவ் ஆகும். தேங்க்யூ.
என்னோட பேர் அழகமே, என் பையன் இங்கே படிக்கிறான். அவனோட பேர் ஆதித்யா சுப்பிரமணியன், 2nd ஸ்டாண்டர்ட். இங்கே எக்ஸிபிஷன் வந்தோம். பசங்க நல்லா பண்ணியிருக்காங்க, நல்லா எக்ஸ்பிளைனும் பண்ணுறாங்க. அவங்களோட குரூப்பாக இருந்து அவங்களோட ஈடுபாடு ரொம்ப நல்லா இருக்குது. ரொம்ப நல்லா இது பண்ணியிருக்காங்க எக்ஸிபிஷனை. தேங்க்யூ.
என்னோட பேர் ரவியா, என் பையன் நந்தகுமார், இங்கே 8th ஸ்டாண்டர்ட் படிக்கிறான். இங்கே சயின்ஸ் எக்ஸிபிஷன் பார்க்கறதுக்காக வந்திருந்தேன். 3rd-லேருந்து 12th வரைக்கும் எல்லா குழந்தைங்களோட இதுவும் பார்த்தோம். நல்லா பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. இன்னும் நிறைய பண்ணுறதுக்கு நல்லா பண்ணியிருக்காங்க.
குட் ஆஃப்டர்நூன். என்னோட பேர் ராஜகுலம். என் பிள்ளைங்க 2 பேருமே இங்கே தான் படிக்கிறாங்க. ஃபஸ்ட்டு பாப்பா பேர் ஆராதனா, 3rd ஸ்டாண்டர்ட் படிச்சுட்ருக்குறேன். 2வது என்னோட பையன் கிருத்திக் தேவ் மாணிக்கம், யூகேஜி படிச்சுட்ருக்கேன். இன்றைக்கி இந்த மாதிரி சயின்ஸ் எக்ஸிபிஷன் அப்படின்னு சொல்லியிருந்தாங்க. வரும்போது கொஞ்சம் கேஷுவலாக தான் வந்து, பட் ரியலி நிறைய விஷயம் பிள்ளைங்க ரொம்ப அழகாக எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணாங்க. அவங்களுக்குள்ள ஒரு 3 பேர் 4 பேர்னாலும் ஒரு நல்ல கோஆர்டினேஷன், ஒருத்தர் விட்டாலும் அழகாக பக்கத்தில் உள்ளவர் சொல்லிக் கொடுக்குறது, டீம் ஒர்க்னா என்ன, ஸோ புதுசான விஷயங்கள் பிள்ளைங்களுக்கு ரொம்ப அழகாக